Cheers. How's it going, everyone? We are live at the 2016 Society Adventure Fest. And I'm sitting here with Russ, Kelly, and Cory, and they are the founders of
Dispatch Radio.
There we go. So I first encountered Russ posting on a running forum about a local front range podcast, kind of exploring everything that is awesome in the worlds of trail running, rock climbing, endurance activities. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about your podcast?
Yeah, absolutely, Wade. By the way, thank you for being such a badass. You inspire us all with your daily pursuits in Eldo. We're just a bunch of outdoor enthusiasts that are real excited about getting people passionate about the outdoors. We're all very naturally passionate about getting out there and telling stories, sharing stories, and getting people out to the mountains. So that's really kind of at the heart of what Dispatch Radio is all about, is just telling good stories, letting people know how to access the outdoors and the mountains, making it very easy for people to get out there with information. It's also the storytelling that really just inspires people to get out there, and that's why we like to have people like Wade Morris on that go out and really just crush it in the morning time and still do their day job. That's really kind of our typical kind of peeps, wouldn't you say, Kelly?
Yes, we just do this to meet new people and to connect people in different outdoor activities and learn from each other and get other people in the outdoors to try different sports.
And I'd like to mention that we're all wearing very fashionable Zeal Optics here at the Zeal Optics Explorer conversion van, where we've been recording all day with some amazing Zeal Optics athletes, as well as some other adventurers. So it's been a lot of fun to be here at the Society Adventure Fest. And my co-founder here, Cory Feign, he's really the creative backbone of what we're doing, if you will. He's the creative mastermind. Cory, what got you involved with all this?
Beer.
Yeah. The free beer. I moved to Colorado from Chicago a year ago, and I had done a podcast there, and I saw Russ post somewhere in a running group, and he said, "Hey, are there any good podcasts?" And I said, "Hey, let's make one." And we just kind of started from there and said, well, who might be interesting to talk to? What should we do? And we're still kind of actually trying to figure that out. And what I found interesting is we haven't done an episode about, a lot of us have ultra running backgrounds. That's sort of where we started talking. And what I found interesting is that people describe their experiences the same way, no matter what discipline or what sport they're talking about. You know, it's about body awareness or self-awareness or, overcoming a challenge or just setting a goal and achieving that goal. Whether that's a quick interview or it's a produced piece we do that's 10 or 20 minutes long of just, we'll go out in the field and do some field recording and really get in depth with your narrative and you tell your own story. We just really want to give a voice to people who are doing interesting things or want to do interesting things or might be just first discovering going out and doing some endurance activities in the mountains or just some kind of adventure.
Very nice. I know you guys have had quite the crew on your podcast so far. I think it'd be good maybe to go through and maybe describe your favorite adventure you've heard about, or maybe something you've embarked on. Did you guys do the adventure race? Did you and?
That's a great example.
Yeah, let's talk about that adventure race. How'd that go for you? Was it what length was it? What did that involve? You dropped your beer, so that's where this
Major
podcast
party
going.
foul. Major party foul. Yeah. So we all sat around at Farrell Mountain Company in Northwest Denver and learned about adventure racing with one of the best adventure racers in the world, who lives in Golden. He's a neighbor of yours, Wade.
Yep,
Eric Sanders.
We found through a story slam so we came across Eric Sanders. We were doing a story slam at Mountain Toad, which we just get people together and say, hey, tell your 2-minute, 5-minute story. Whoever wins gets a free beer or whatever. So Eric told a funny story of that. It was really cool, and then that sort of piqued our interest. Oh, what's this adventure racing all about? Which led to an episode about that.
And what we like to do on our episodes is really dive in, learn kind of what drives people to do these crazy outdoor pursuits, and then commit to something crazy that we ourselves, just mere mortals, can attempt. And then for when we shot at Farrell Mountain, we committed. Cory and Nick on our team committed to a 24-hour adventure race. Myself and Tony went for the baby 6-hour. I had a kid's birthday party to go to the next day, so I had an easy cop out. But they did it. They committed on the show, and they did it. We have a whole show kind of recapping the adventures, so you can check that out at dispatchradio.com. If you just click on episodes, you can learn how Cory and Nick's adventure race went. And we actually compared it side by side with Eric Sanders' experience. He had raced the same race, and so it was kind of fun to hear the rookies and some of the decision making that they made versus world class athlete like Eric Sanders, who's got this stuff down. But at the heart of it, I mean, I think that's what this is all about, is just meeting different people that experience the outdoors and outdoor adventure in different ways, and just trying stuff that's new. Wade, you're out there rock climbing all the time. Like, maybe it's time to step up to some hang gliding.
Yeah, or, one thing I've wanted to get into for a while is paragliding.
Is that right?
But I don't know, got to find the time. Got too many rock climbing goals right now.
Well, then I think that you'll be very interested. We just released on Friday our Air Adventures podcast. Kelly was our hostess extraordinaire for that. We recorded from Sanitas Brewing, and we talked all about paragliding, hang gliding, skydiving, kind of learning all about that world. So that's exactly our hope, is that someone like you, Wade, will tune in, hear about that, be inspired, and go try something new.
Yeah, speaking of Kelly, how did you get tied into this whole crazy bunch?
Right.
What's your story?
My friend Cory here convinced me, just because I love the outdoors. I've been climbing and running and skiing and everything my whole life, and I'm pretty social, so he thought maybe I'd be a good fit, and it's worked out great. I've met some awesome people, and I really am interested in doing a lot more adventures I never thought I would be interested in. So yeah.
And I want to mention that we actually have been making some, I want to say, love connections here. I mean, today at the Go Society Adventure Fest, we were sitting down with a professional slackliner, Michelle, and we saw Olivia Sue walk by. She's a professional rock climber, and she said, "That's my woman crush." And we pulled her into the trailer, and now we have an interview with both of them together. And it's really cool to see, different people from different disciplines kind of getting to know each other.
And at different levels within their disciplines too. There's a lot of people, from my background in ultra running, where you're just getting started, and there's a lot of people you look up to, or a lot of things you have to learn. And I'm sure it's true of all the other disciplines as well. And it's cool to connect people who are at, we're not like only trying to focus on elite athletes, or we just really want to tell stories at anybody at any level of involvement in outdoor adventure.
So we've got a question from an online viewer, Beth.
Coming in.
Got
a question.
Yes, coming in from online. She wants to know how to get started in what sport did she ask? She wants to know how to get started in the great outdoors. So maybe we can kind of bring this back, and you guys can each give how you were brought up into this community of the outdoors. What first kind of captured your imagination of getting into the outdoors? Let's start with Cory.
Sure. So in 2010, I ran a half marathon with my wife, and I was pretty out of shape and smoked cigarettes, and I lived in Chicago, and we finished that, and we just did it for fun. It was on Halloween, and it's a big holiday for us. And at the end of that, I was like, well, that was interesting. I wonder if I could run a marathon. And then as soon as I did that 6 months later, I was like, well, there must be other things. So I was like, oh, there's 50 milers. Interesting. Oh, wait, you can do that in the mountains, too. And I had barely spent any time in the mountains at all. So I came from just kind of jogging 3 miles once in a while to, like, all of a sudden I'm at, like, the third summit of an ultra marathon, just looking out at this beautiful vista. And really all you got to do is just slap on a pair of running shoes and go out there and, if you haven't run at all, run a mile. If you've run a bunch, double your distance. You can probably always do that. And for me, that was just the path to trying to, and that resulted in us moving to Colorado to be closer to the mountains and make that our lifestyle instead of like, we don't want to go on vacation. I want to live that. Like, that should be how we live. And that's how I ended up here, just by, let's do this half marathon and see what it's like.
I grew up in New Hampshire, and a lot of my family hiked. So we hiked and camped a lot, and I grew up skiing since I was 5 years old. And I went to a school called Holderness, which a lot of people called it wilderness. So we did a lot of like outdoor adventures. It was basically a ski school. So we spent half the day skiing and had in the winter and had nighttime classes. And then I met a lot of people there that did NOLS, National Outdoor Leadership School. So I did like rock climbing, NOLS, and I also did the NOLS in the Wind Rivers of Wyoming. And I ended up dating my rock climbing NOLS instructor for 5 years. And
So he broke that.
so he's like, he was a big mountaineer. So I got into climbing.
You were worth breaking that rule for him.
I broke the rule, but it was after NOLS. So yeah. So I got really into climbing
6 months after
and
the
ice
course.
climbing. And so yeah, I did a lot of outdoor stuff in Jackson Hole and lived in Crested Butte, and I was always out west, and I just really have been into the outdoors my whole life, and it inspires me. And I love running. I love running in the mountains and skiing, and yeah.
One sub question. Do you think skiing on ice in the East Coast has made you a better skier for Colorado?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. We're all better skiers because we come out here.
I'm not. I'm from California, so I just went the opposite way.
Surf's up, dude.
Surf's up. Yeah, so I started out with kind of getting outdoors with my family, and then in college I started guiding for my outdoor program, and my first outdoor climb was Royal Arches in Yosemite, so that's 1,700 feet of granite, and so I just kind of was immersed into this adventure climbing community, and I've never looked back since then.
Nice. I just grew up a suburban kid in Atlanta. I had no knowledge of the outdoors at all, and then decided to move to Denver because the mountains were here. I was introduced to climbing in college. My college roommate was a big climber, but really when I moved to Denver is when I first got the taste for the outdoors. And once you get the taste, that's really the thing about dispatch radio to me, is once you get the taste, once you see that, yes, you can approach the outdoors and you start doing it, you get addicted and you want to do more, and you continue to explore kind of what else you can do. So that's really a lot of what we're about here at Dispatch Radio, is just letting people know everything that's out there, and no matter what personality type you are, no matter what your situation, there's probably something out there in the mountains that you'll get into, and we certainly hope to touch on it on our radio program.
That's awesome. It's an awesome story, guys. We got a question from Alexandria online, and she wants to know, when you walk into a big outdoor retailer store, what's the first thing you look for? What do you buy? I'm going to kind of focus this question a little bit more. Say you're looking for a backpacking trip, and you have gone car camp. Yep, just you're going car camping or backpacking with. What are you looking for to buy?
Well, first I would say a big thing that we're all about is lowering the obstacle to the barriers to entry for the outdoors. So let's not concentrate so much on having the right gear. Like, let's concentrate on, hey, let's get out to the outdoors and let's have some fun. Yes, having the great gear really can enhance the experience once you get out there and once you get your feet under you, but that can be a little bit of a barrier to folks, is they feel like, oh, I don't have all the gear that I need. I think all of us sitting here has probably done some unwise adventuring where we didn't have all of the 10 essentials that we were supposed to have, and we had a good time and we figured it out. So I think that'd be part of the answer for that. But as far as an outdoor adventure shop, one, we love local, right? We love to go into a shop where there's local expertise, because your terrain is going to vary depending on what state you're in, what climate you're in, etc. So going to a local shop that has good knowledge about the types of gear that you do need and the types of gear that you don't need for the kind of adventuring that you do, I think that's number one. So going to like a Farrell Mountain here in northwest Denver, where it's not going to have every piece of gear that you need, but they're going to have very knowledgeable staff that can kind of help guide you through it and make it easy. I think that'd be the most important thing.
And I think a big part of that too is a lot of people who work in stores like that are people who care about what they're doing, and ask them questions and say, hey, I'm totally new at this. I don't know where to start. What do I even need to do this kind of thing? And you'll end up in a good conversation, and you might learn about a new place you could go or kind of adventure that you can do. Just be willing to have that conversation and just kind of go into a store where people will have local expertise, like Russ said, and just have a conversation.
right, thanks, guys. I've got another online question. This is actually for Megan.
What you got?
How do you adventure on a dime? Like, how do you search for adventure when you're a college student, when you're eating rice and beans, when you're like, how do you get outdoors when you're on a limited budget?
If you just have a pair of sneakers, running shoes, it doesn't matter even if they're old running shoes. You can just look up online and say, what's the most beautiful running course, maybe even write the miles. You can Google anything. And there's blogs and everything that comes up, and even maps and apps you can download that Cory's good at that. And that will even show you the route, and you can follow it by GPS the whole way. So, yeah.
And I want to say, this stream's going out to Denver. So, you starving college kids, yes, you can look at it as you don't have money to go buy gear, but you also have time. You don't have kids yet. You've got a lot of time in your life. So, yes, you can get out and you explore a community. And that's one reason that Dispatch Radio exists, is we want to create a community that people can tap into. Because once you start asking questions, you'll find that people have the gear. They want to take you out. They want to share their knowledge. All you have to do is come with a little bit of interest in what in the outdoors and what they're doing, and you'll definitely open doors. Going on an app like GoSociety, I think, is a great idea as well. Just meeting new people and not focusing so much on the exact gear or the exact knowledge that you might have, and just find the people to go out and explore with. If you go out on a rock climbing trip with Wade Morris, you don't need to bring a piece of gear. It won't cost you a single dime, and you will get home safely and have an excellent adventure. So it's really just meeting people like Wade is really the big obstacle for folks, and that barrier to entry is really coming down big time with online and all the things that are accessible to folks these days.
I think a great last point will be, what is the best adventure in Denver without leaving the city limits?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Let's start. Let's down
These guys are from Boulder.
All right, I moved to Boulder a year ago from Chicago, and I got nothing.
What was the question? What's the best adventure?
Best way to get outdoors in Denver
Without leaving Denver.
Denver.
Right?
Oh gosh, I've never lived in Denver, so I don't know. I lived in Boulder and Evergreen, so I don't know.
All right, so
You got something?
Yeah.
I've got something.
Yeah.
An Instagram feed you should probably follow if you haven't is Timmy O'Neill. He is a climbing comedy, but coupled with outdoor badassery. So he's actually floated the Platte River through Denver in his kayak, and going through all the underpasses and underground riverways through his kayak. And so he scouted a couple of them to make sure they were safe, going through unknown tunnels. But that's probably the coolest adventure in Denver I've seen, is to float the river with your kayak.
Is that legal?
I don't know.
Details.
Well, ask for forgiveness later.
I would like to think that I have kind of a daily adventure with my son. So I bike commute from the northwest suburbs of Denver into Denver. And one thing to know about Denver is we've got some great bike trails. So that's being outdoors, it's being active. To me, that's outdoor adventure. That's probably the best thing you can do in Denver at low barrier to entry. Again, is just get on a bike and kind of see what trails we have to offer. But then you got 20 minutes away, you got Golden. So I wouldn't discount Golden. I would say let's get out at least to the foothills. We don't need to be stuck in Denver.
Yeah, and to say that Golden is about to, or they just have opened up the bike path through Clear Creek Canyon. And the bike path from Denver to Boulder is actually open as well along Highway 36.
Yeah.
So those are some great local adventures that you can get out on. I think the last question was, what is your most favorite camping spot ever? And mine is waking up on the side of El Cap in Yosemite. There's just something about being 3,000 feet, sleeping on a portaledge, not hearing a thing in sight. And actually, the last time I was up on El Cap, it's not legal, but if you go there at dawn,
It's off the record.
pretty much every day, there's a base jumper jumping off the top of El Cap, and it sounds like the sky is being ripped apart, and you get to watch someone jumping 3,000 feet into the air and just flying into the meadows. It was cool because there was 2 base jumpers, so they split, and one went up valley, one went down valley to kind of spread out from the rangers. But it's probably the coolest thing I've ever seen. You can also hang glide in Yosemite too, and that's legal, so I'll suggest that.
Camp locations?
Camp location, definitely for me out near the Maroon Bells, outside of Aspen, and at like Snowmass Lake. All that area out there is so beautiful, especially in the height of the wildflower season. It's just unbelievable. I could go there every single year.
I have not camped in this location. However, I was pacing somebody at the Hard Rock 100 in the San Juans, and we came by this lake that was an alpine lake in the middle. I mean, we were 5 or 10 miles from a road or trailhead or anything, and there was just one tiny tent out there by itself. And I was like, that's where I need to camp. Nobody else around, 13,000 feet up, and just the most beautiful mountain range, in my opinion, that I've seen. That's where my sights are set.
And for me, I'd say probably 4th of July up near Netherland, just because it's easy to get to. It's easy kind of beginner camping. So, again, I like to bring people that just aren't really that used to being outdoors. It's not intimidating, but you get away from your car. So if you go to Netherland, if you're in the Denver area, look up 4th of July area. You can do a couple of mile hike in to your campsite. You can feel like you're in the backcountry, but you haven't, had to drive that long drive or, really prepared all that much. And you know what? If things go wrong, you can always just get back to your car real quickly. So that's one of my favorite things to do, is just bring people out that are kind of new to it and intimidated by it, and kind of give them a taste for what the outdoors is like.
Those are all awesome suggestions. Well, I think that's about all we have time for. Again, this is all the people from Dispatch Radio. You guys should look them up. Where can you find Dispatch Radio?
DispatchRadio.com. We record in the Denver, Boulder, Golden area every other Monday night, basically. So we're releasing stuff on a weekly basis at DispatchRadio.com. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere where you get your podcast jam on, you can find us.
And I would add to that, if you have a story that you want to pitch to us, in addition to doing studio sessions, we also produce 5, 10, 20-minute segments of your story. Write a narrative, pitch us the idea, we'll do some field recording. And we're also looking for an audio engineering intern. If you're in college and you want to spend time editing audio with us, we would love to make it so that I can focus on the big picture of this show and not editing 20 hours an episode.
No, but seriously, anybody out there that's listening right now, if you've got audio-visual skills, if you've got interest in the outdoors, we're looking for an intern. You've got a brilliant creative genius that you'll be have a tutelage under. You can write to us at info@dispatchradio.com. You can look us up on Facebook. Really would love to hear from you.
Awesome, guys. Well, that was a pretty good interview.
All right. Well, to give yourself an A+ there, Wade.
Well, I didn't have to do much work, so it's A+ from my part.
Excuse me, sir. Boss, I think I give myself a raise. I did a very good job today. That was an excellent interview.
It's okay, I'm working for free. So, anyways, this is DenverLive.tv coming from you from the 2016 Society Adventure Fest. Tune in for more interviews later, and check out the guys from Dispatch Radio.